What is going on, FA Nation? John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm MLB DFS Game Day Playbook live show. We are looking at the Monday 8-game MLB DFS Main Slate. James, you've been the man on the playbook here today. It has been an absolutely wild day across the MLB. The MLB trade deadline is tomorrow, but teams are they're wheeling and dealing. Players getting scratched. Surprising moves seemingly out of nowhere happening. We have 3-team deals. We got big names moving around, and that's only the tip of the iceberg. We're expecting maybe even some more trades to possibly happen even during today's show. So as we talked last night and on the preview show this morning, we are in full-on hug watch mode, which means if you were building your DFS lineups and maybe you're thinking about a player that could or could not be on the move, well, you got to take those risk considerations into it. James, when you're doing your playbook today, how much did the trade deadline factor into any of the analysis or considerations you had?
It didn't, only because if those players are, it obviously does. We saw in the early game today, Justin Turner started the game and was removed after one at bat and was traded in the middle of the game. So obviously it can,
Mm-hmm.
but I think not so much until we get more definitive news. I think if we've seen it already today, Jack Flaherty, for example, a pitcher that has been rumored was removed from his start.
Yeah.
I think that we'll get that pretty early, at least on the pitching front. Like if there's anyone, Nathan Eovaldi specifically,
Mm-hmm.
that is going to get moved, we'll know before first pitch. I don't think it's going to be because
In-game thing.
well, you think of pitching, especially, you just don't want them to get hurt.
Right.
So
if they were actively involved in an Eovaldi discussion, that team would be like, yeah, I don't want him pitching for you.
Yeah, it's just and you see the news with the Yankees and Flaherty. I'm sure the Yankees were just like, hey, don't pitch that guy. If you want us to be involved, don't. Right.
Yeah.
So I think on that front, the position player stuff is just hard because there's just random position players traded.
Yeah.
Obviously the
Morel
White
got
Sox
traded mid-game the other day. He was never once uttered in a rumor to be dealt for Paredes, right? You just don't know.
I would say the White Sox are obviously a team you have to monitor today, because they've already traded Tommy Pham. Luis Robert is hitting third tonight. Obviously, he's been the most coveted of the offensive players they have. St. Louis has added. What is Texas going to do is obviously a question that's on everyone's mind. But most of these teams are
Pittsburgh made a trade today,
Yeah, Seattle made another deal as well today. And I saw one of their beat reporters said they're not done. So that's obviously Boston's a team that's buying. St. Louis is obviously buying. Kansas City is in a buy. So does it factor in it a little bit? But until there's more definitiveness to anything, I think we just are ho-hum about the slate as it's given to us.
Sure. We got our guys in chat. We appreciate you all tuning in. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to throw them in there. We're going to go position by position here and break it all down for your guy. Keith Vape in there gave us both a follow the other day. We appreciate you tuning back in. And Mr. Prolocash, longtime supporter here of the show, popping in, snuck away from the park to give a listen here. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. If you want to help us out here, give a like, give a share, hit a subscribe over on the Fantasy Alarm YouTube and obviously Fantasy Alarm X channels there. Give James and I a follow as well. The other storyline for today outside the trade deadline was the weather. James, how are things looking when it shapes up to that tonight?
Yeah, so there was weather concerns in Kansas or in Cincinnati to start the day. Kevin Roth over at Roto Grinders has lowered it to yellow. It was orange. He did not like the outlook earlier in the day, but he has definitely softened on that a little bit to where he thinks that the heavy stuff is going to hold off until the end of the game. That's good, specifically for the bats. So I like pretty much every scenario. I don't think there's anything that's going to be impacted by rain too much. Cincinnati being the worst of it all, but even Cincinnati, I think, is fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Like I said, I know we were a bit concerned that maybe this slate would have gotten knocked down. When it came to lineup construction, obviously smaller slates mean smaller player pools, so we had something to at least worry about. And obviously, as we always say, nothing is certain. So check in before roster lock here, so you can make the best educated guesses with your lineup builds there. But let's get in to starting pitching. Paul Skeens, $10,500. I've been trolling the X world today to see where people were on Skeens with strikeout props. Some were going under in this matchup against Houston for him at 7.5. So many people willing to take the over. I took the over innings today, over underdog and prize picks at 18.5. Where are you with Skeens at 10.5 today?
I mean, obviously, this is I think it's a shallow pitching position today. And sometimes you just play talent over like matchup. And that's kind of what this is. Now, to be fair, Houston hasn't really been good offensively in July. 18th in OPS and WOBA, 19th in WRC plus against righties. Like, that is worse than league average. And then you're putting them up against a guy with a 34% strikeout rate and has been as good as anybody in baseball.
Right.
So I am perfectly fine getting to Paul Skeens if that's where your lineup builds take you. Houston, we've kind of said it all year and years and years and years now. They are, again, better against lefties than they are against righties. So this is a little bit of a plus for Skeens where Houston currently sits in all their rankings in July against right-handed pitching.
We discussed the Seattle-Boston matchup last night with Logan Gilbert and Nick Pivetta. Obviously, Seattle's pitching is coming in looking pretty good. You also have Seattle's offense outside of Seattle looking pretty strong. On the other end there, you have the Boston offense, good at home, very good against righties, adding some more bats to their lineup as well. And then Nick Pivetta, who can be as good or as bad as anybody on the slate tonight. How are you breaking down the Gilbert versus Pivetta, Seattle versus Boston matchup?
Yeah, I mean, I think they both. So first and foremost, obviously Pivetta was going to be popular. That was, I think you and I saw. You could see that coming from a gajillion miles away. People just knowing what Pivetta has in terms of upside, as you touched on a lot last night, and knowing what Seattle does. They strike out. But I've been very clear with what I've said. I have not minced my words about Nick Pivetta at all. And what I have not minced my words about Seattle on the road either. There is a distinct difference in their offense. Not strikeouts aside. They just strike out. That doesn't, they are very powerful away from Seattle. They are not at all good in Seattle. This is being played at an elite hitting in an elite hitting environment in Boston. So, I'm perfectly fine if you end up getting to Pivetta. He has a lot of strikeout appeal. He has had double-digit strikeouts in 2 of his last 4 starts. He has 6+ in 4 straight starts. Can't hate on that.
Nope.
But where you can find leverage is fading Pivetta and playing Seattle because they're top 5 in July on the road against righties in OPS, in ISO, in average, in WOBA, in WRC plus, in literally every category on the board, and they're super cheap, right?
Including strikeout rate. They still strike out a ton.
No, dude, undeniable. They are undeniably going to strike out. Like they could score 12 runs, and Nick Pivetta may have 9 strikeouts. Like
I think we said the ideal start tonight, right, for Pivetta is this Oakland start where he gave up 4, struck out 10, and gave you 22 fantasy points in there.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not a strong wind, but you go look at the weather reports out there. We do have some wind blowing out tonight to left field even. So you got the Green Monster there. It's, again, 6 to 8 miles an hour. It's a little bit of a light breeze there in Boston tonight, but certainly could help him. $9,600 Logan Gilbert, though. Are you willing to go there?
Yeah, I mean, he's just a good pitcher on a bad slate for pitching, right? So It's a brutal spot. This is probably one of the lowest owned Logan Gilberts you're gonna have all year long. So if you want to look at it from that standpoint, play him. Also, just have the understanding that you're facing the number one offense against right-handed pitching in baseball right now. So there are two sides to every coin. You'll get Gilbert at low ownership, and he's good, but he's also facing a very lefty heavy lineup that's really good. So I'm good with Gilbert in tournaments. Not a priority for me, but I'm good with him.
What do you make of Alec Marsh getting some ownership love tonight?
I love it. I've actually gone back and in the playbook, I added a couple players since the trade deadline and since everything has happened. I've added Alec Marsh to my core play section. Um, I understand the trepidation of using Alec Marsh. He hasn't been nearly as good or consistent. He's Nick Pivetta Jr. And I mean that in really junior, so junior that it's not actually Nick Pivetta, but he does have serious strikeout appeal at times. Almost a strikeout per inning, has been a strikeout per inning over his last 10 starts or his last 10 outings, I should say. And this is a team in the White Sox that obviously lost one of their better offensive players for what that's worth. It was Tommy Pham, but still, this White Sox team, Tommy Pham was one of their better hitters. So I'm good to get to Marsh. We talked about it. It just the whole tier just drops off very fast after Pivetta, who's going to be really popular. I like Marsh at 77. As a guy who can get a lot of strikeouts. I really liked this was before the Pivetta trade. He had a good outs, really good outs over on DraftKings Sportsbook to go really good odds to go over. Kansas City has the highest implied team total offensively, so obviously he has offense to back him there.
Mm-hmm.
So I like Alec Marsh quite a bit. As the day has progressed, I've liked him. He's grown to be my favorite SP2 of the day as we've gone.
Okay, wow, it's definitely big words because we had talked Colin Ray last night as someone that we both liked going up against Atlanta at $6,900. Do you still have positive feelings towards him in this matchup tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like Colin Ray. I'm not saying I don't. Another guy, 17 and a half outs, minus 130 over on DraftKings Sportsbook against Atlanta. This is a guy who hasn't finished 6 innings in 3 straight starts, and he's minus 130 to get. That's what DraftKings is telling you. He's going to complete 6 innings here, and it's what we have said on these airwaves. What daily? The Braves don't hit right-handed pitching. That's been the MO since Acuna went down late May. And in July, 23rd in OPS, 26th in WOBA, 27th in WRC plus, and then the cherry on top is the 26% strikeout rate. Colin Ray, not really known for strikeouts, been missing bats lately. 7 his last 2, 7+ strikeouts in 3 of his last 5 starts. So I like Colin Ray quite a bit. I'm good also if you look at him versus Alec Marsh and you're just well, I'm just going to play the lower owned guy of the two, right? You're going to say, I just want to play the lower owned guy. He is also $800 cheaper, and that might get me whoever, right? That might get me insert your player for $800 more. So between Marsh and Ray, I really like them as an SP2, and obviously if you're on one pitcher sites, you can use them.
Yeah, for sure. One guy we didn't talk about in terms of using in your lineups, but just looking at the outs props, Evaldi is at 18.5. Only he and Skeens have a number at 18.5. Now Evaldi is plus 125 and the over is minus 170 and the under, which is a pretty heavy favorite there to pitch less than 6 1/3 innings essentially here. But where are we with him tonight at $9,300?
Yeah, I have him written up. I like him. I found it very interesting that when you look at the best odds to win the game, right? Not best team odds. Nathan Eovaldi on the road has the best odds of any pitcher on this main slate to get a win, which I found interesting, right? I mean, his offense isn't all that good right now. He's on the road. Paul Skeens exists in the world. Alec Marsh exists in the world. Like his team exists in the world. And Nathan Eovaldi plus 115 was the best odds to win tonight, which again, that speaks to the quality of pitcher Nathan Eovaldi is. Now, Seattle's been good offensively, top 10 in the league and against right-handed pitching in most offensive categories again in July.
St. Louis?
Yeah, St. Louis, sorry. They have been top 10 in basically every category. So that is obviously a little bit worrisome. Wilson Contreras being back has obviously lengthened that lineup. Arenado has been better. We know about Burleson, Donovan, Mason Wynn has been a table setter. So, I like Eovaldi, the pitcher. I also respect St. Louis, who's in a really good spot, one game out of the playoffs right now as well. So I'm good getting to Eovaldi, especially if you can't get to Skeens. Like, I think Eovaldi is a nice $1,300 or $1,200 savings that you have there.
Sure. Let's talk Grant Holmes here. A guy we touched upon this morning. He's $4,000. A couple of longer relief appearances here. We looked into his minor league. You looked into his minor league last start. He got the 96 pitches in that last minor league outing. So he's certainly stretched out to some degree this year. At 4K, it doesn't take a lot. We've scrolled through some of these box scores here. He's got a 14 fantasy point game. He's got a near 13 fantasy point game, just going 2 or 3 innings. Does Grant Holmes make lineups for you tonight, James?
Yeah, I think Grant Holmes is obviously interesting. I think anytime you have a 4K pitcher, it's worth just looking at, right? And like deciding, why is he $4,000? And should I be using him? Because this opens up every opportunity for my lineup. Like you play him in Skeens, that is $14,000. That's, you feel really comfortable with the 36K.
2 7K pitchers basically is what you end up throwing in there. So
I obviously don't love that Atlanta called up Darius Vines today, who is the obvious choice that if Grant Holmes can't go past 50 pitches or is in any sort of trouble, Darius Vines is the guy getting the call. Because you need Grant Holmes to basically continue to pitch how he's pitched, right? Perfect scenario where
not the last 2 starts.
Not the last 2, but even to the last one, to the last outing, he had the 5 Ks, which is, got him 11 fantasy points, which you're still okay with at $4,000.
Yeah.
But if there's not an extension on that 52 pitches, you need him to be perfect. That's where I'm a little bit worried. I'm good with multi-entry players using Grant Holmes. Sure. I would say, because he's also 5,500 on FanDuel too. FanDuel's even here, play him, right? Then you can
FanDuel, you have almost no shot at the quality star points.
None. I think that there's obviously a chance because you said it. He threw 96 pitches. He had he only made 3 starts this year. They were all over 75 pitches though, as he was working his way early June, and then he gets called up, and he's been long relief since. So I think multi-entry players, Grant Holmes is someone that you could seriously consider. In single entry, you have to absolutely think that your lineup is perfect, right? The rest of your lineup, because you can get away with big nights with bad pitching, which is what a 4K pitcher. If he gets you 10 fantasy points, you're comfortable. You're in a comfortable position.
we built the Skeens Pavetta lineup this morning, and we had a pretty good lineup with him. We didn't really need the extra $4,000 we would get with Holmes. Now we could have used it, I guess. We punted a catcher or something like that, but for the most part, there's enough value on matchups we like tonight that we didn't need to go all the way down here. But like you said, if he goes out there and gives you 15 fantasy points tonight in 4 innings or whatever, that's a big win on a smaller slate. And we only ever really recommend these options here on smaller slates or when we feel like there's a guaranteed production value to him. So tonight there's a lot of questions, but it's a small slate, so you can take those risks there. Troy's asking who the top pitchers are. You're coming in at the end of it, but we'll definitely like Skeens. We discussed the up and down nature of Nick Pivetta. We feel Evaldi's fairly safe. James is big on Alec Marsh here in the mid tier, and we both like Colin Ray as well. So a couple of guys on our boards tonight. Anybody else for you here?
No.
Moving on over to the catcher position. Again, plenty of spots to pay up for if you like the matchups. Who are some of the notables for you tonight?
Notable is right off the bat, Cal Raleigh. That's my number one spend up at catcher. $4,500. I understand the volatility of Cal Raleigh, but I'm not out here. I'm not playing or I'm not fading Nick Pivetta because I want safe. I want volatile players that will hit me home runs or do damage. Right? Cal Raleigh is exactly that. We mentioned how good they've been against righties on the road. Cal Raleigh included in that. 720 slug, 1100 OPS, 400 isolated power over the last month on the road against right-handed pitching. So I like Cal Raleigh quite a bit. And depends if you've been listening, you should not have to have us answer that question. It's Paul Skeens. But Cal Raleigh for sure, 45 would be my preferred option. I'm good getting to Salvi at $4,900 if that's the direction you want to go because again, Kansas City has the highest implied team total on the day. Salvi's obviously good. Flexen really bad against lefties, but he's been lucky against righties. When you look at all the peripheral stats, they all suggest regression coming against righties too, which is really bad news for him because he's already allowing 2.5 home runs per 9 to lefties. So what's going to happen when the righties start hitting? So I like Salvi and Raleigh at the top. And then I just go right down to Gabriel Moreno at 3,400. He's hitting second again, which we predicted on the show last night. Yeah, he's been pretty good since returning from the IL. He's been pretty good in this recent stretch of games outside of his non-start that he didn't make Sunday. But a little 4-game hitting streak, hits in like 6 of his last 7 overall, and a lot of RBIs. Which this is the exact Gabe Moreno we got last year against left-handed pitching, and if you're going to wedge him between Ketel Marte, who literally doesn't get out against left-handed pitching, and Christian Walker, who, if you look over the last month, has been amazing against lefties, I like Gabriel Moreno quite a bit in the 2-hole if spending down at catcher.
Yep, for sure. Our guy Chris Diaz, a longtime follower here. What are we using? And teams are stacking 20K to first on FanDuel. Well, we talked about it. We're in on Skeens, 100%. As our top overall play. If you want some volatility upside, Pivetta is certainly a guy that has a strikeout play. Evaldi's fairly safe for us here tonight. If you're looking for some cheaper options, we like Alec Marsh, I like Colin Ray there. Game stacks, well, we're getting into the lineups now here, Chris, but Arizona-Washington is a pretty popular matchup that we're going to be looking to target here tonight for sure. Not a ton of value catchers. If you wanted to plug Freddie Fermin in, not the right split side for him, but again, just 3K play. Happy to consider that as an option here if you needed to get the money off of Ruiz. First base has some spend ups. We did identify a nice value play we liked on this at this position this morning. Obviously, Christian Walker against Parker at 53 stands out. Where else are you looking to go?
Yeah, I've definitely come more around on Walker here, 53. He's been good against lefties over the last month. And that's been something that evaded him for most of the year. He's been better against righties. So I like Walker 53. I really like Vinny Pasquantino at 4,700. I know the power hasn't necessarily been there for Pasquantino, but this is, if any spot around Major League Baseball, this is the spot that is can't miss for power when it comes to left-handed bats. Dude, Chris Flexen has just been awful against lefties, and it's in every facet. 2.36 home runs per 9 innings, 51% fly ball rate. So I like Pasquantino, 4,700. Then you drop down below 4K. Michael Busch, 3,800. When you look at Spires, all the Carson Spires numbers,
yeah,
we overlooked the Cubs completely last night because of rain, and I regret that. But if this weather is going to be good, Spires has been torched by lefties. I know the Cubs are obviously not the most potent lineup. Michael Busch has really good numbers against righties this year. Like him hitting second at $3,800. You dip down Juan Yepez, $3,400. And we just got, and I was waiting for this lineup all day long. The Pirates lineup includes, because it was O'Neal Cruz and friends. It includes Rowdy Tellez tonight at $3,100. I love Rowdy as a cheap pay down option because I just don't hold any weight to Jake Bloss as a major league pitcher at this point. Jake Bloss has been awful. He's allowed over 3 home runs per 9 innings in his first 3 starts. So I think between Yepez and Rowdy, you can't go wrong in the value tier.
So I will say our guy Kevin Roth over at Grande just did another update to the weather. A little more risky in Cincinnati, Chicago now. So, kind of like we thought last night, like there's going to be some thunderstorms in the area. If it lands over the stadium, could be an in-game delay. If it lands over the stadium and doesn't move, that game might end up getting moved off. So he moved it to a yellow-orange from what it was before. He still feels like, more likely to not, the bigger stuff comes at the end of the game. But just to kind of put that out there, the most recent update from him has it a little more risky there. The other first baseman, apologies if you had mentioned that. I was just kind of updating the weather here. Did you go over Juan Yepez?
Yes, him and Rowdy.
Yeah, good. So those are the 2 guys that we were looking for in that spot. Just Being Real wants to know who we have hitting a home run tonight. We'll do a home run call at the end of the show. We can go back to the old Call of Fame day and give out our home run calls there. Second base position here. Ketel Marte was the clear one play we loved plugging in last night. Anything changed for you? Any new information for you when it comes to second base?
No, Ketel Marte is still the top play. I think that this position is very hard to navigate because I think there's so much value at it. But Ketel Marte is the clear top spend.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, again, no arguments for me. I like Billy Castro at 47, hitting 5th today. We got the Twins lineup is a little interesting. They got Buxton hitting 2nd, I think I saw as well. Like I feel like we haven't really seen that dynamic in that lineup all too often here. So I certainly don't mind some Willie Castro. Anybody else for you in the mid tier?
Michael Massey leading off.
Massey leading off looks pretty good. We like that. McNeil 35.
Yep.
Get there. Anybody else?
Yep. Polanco hitting 4th right there. $3,400.
In the lineup. It's not bad. It's not a bad spot if they keep on hitting the way they have on the road for sure. Third base then. Royce Lewis at $5,200, Devers 61. Where are you looking to spend up at?
Royce Lewis. This position sucks. I'm just going to be blunt. It's Royce Lewis, and then it's everybody else, $5,200. You can make a case for Josh Smith, who's leading off, but Texas doesn't look at data, obviously. They have 6 lefties in their lineup when Piante doesn't allow any damage to lefties. So salute to them for being really smart.
He's minus 150 on the 17 and a half outs, by the way, Piante.
I said it yesterday. Why do you not look at, I don't understand why we're not looking at data. I mean, he does not allow anything to lefties, and he allows everything to righties. So they're leading Josh Smith off for whatever reason. But Arenado, if you're not playing Evaldi, he's been pretty good of late, was doing well, and then he offered the last 2 games. Sure. Eugenio at 36 would probably be the next guy I really get to. I don't honestly have a large player pool at third. It's Eugenio, Rojas if you're stacking Seattle. Paul DeJong is third base eligible if you're not playing Alec Marsh. There's been correlation there. DeJong is good against right-handed pitching. Alec Marsh bad against right-handed hitting. So DeJong with third base eligibility.
Warren wants to know any thoughts on Ortiz here. Hitting 9th tonight for Milwaukee.
I don't think Joey Ortiz has had a hit in 2 months. So
yeah, okay. Not even the right split for him really to go there either. Ezekiel Duran does hit from the right side there. He does. I know he has also struggled, but you mentioned Piante's there, and then we're fine if Lipscomb's in the lineup there. Shortstop. Bobby Witt, Ellie De La Cruz, Francisco Lindor, your top 3 guys. Abrams, Seager rounding out that top half of the 5K tier, and then O'Neal Cruz closing it out at 5,100. O'Neal Cruz was the cover of our pre-show here today. Where are you looking to go?
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely get to Witt if you want. 6,400 is perfectly fine. Never ever gonna tell you if you're comfortable getting to Ellie in that weather. Obviously, you could play him. He has he has the highest ceiling as any player in baseball. Lindor's been amazing. The Woods Richardson stuff is interesting because he allows a lot of fly balls and just no home runs, no hard contact. All the peripheral stats are just like, yeah, he's just pitching well. It's just weird with all the fly balls. But if you want to play Lindor, he's been amazing. And O'Neal Cruz has protection tonight. I mean, Rowdy's hitting fourth. Brian Reynolds back in the lineup hitting second. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I wanted. I wanted the Pittsburgh lineup to include good players other than O'Neal Cruz. Do I like Palacios leading off? I don't, but that's where Pittsburgh is right now against right-handed pitching. So O'Neal Cruz is probably my top shortstop. Like now, like if I had the salary to get to Bobby Witt, sure, play Bobby Witt. But for $13 less, O'Neal Cruz has double down upside with the way he's swinging the bat against righties this year.
Sure. Shortstop value and mid tier. Were any options for you?
Mid tier, nothing like that really stands out. I mentioned DeYoung at 3,000. You could play Geraldo Perdomo 29, but that's it.
Okay. And then the outfield here. Obviously, Jaron Duran is your top price guy. Ozuna, your AL player of the week. Tyler O'Neill's $5,500. The Jordan Verskines matchup will be fun to watch. He's 54. Lane Thomas, as we talked about. This is where we get into some of these Nationals plays here. Just really a game stack of Washington, Arizona. Thomas at 5K.
Yeah, I think I don't have a lot of interest in this 5K tier. I do like Brian Reynolds. It says out. You just haven't updated it. He's in. He is batting second tonight. Lane Thomas and Brian Reynolds. Those will probably be my top two. We got booted.
We got booted. See, you made me refresh and we got booted. Let's see what we can pull up here.
I think Reynolds and Lane Thomas would be the top two guys over 5K for me. Like Duran obviously has a ceiling. Ozuna has a gajillion home runs. Jordan 54 would be live for a home run. O'Neal, as you mentioned, has been really good. So all those plays are fine. I lean Reynolds and Lane Thomas.
Mid-tier options for you. Again, attacking Pivetta with some of the Seattle guys are an option for us here. The Cubs plays, like you said, if that game does hold out, Cubs plays are in play as we'd like with Seiya and Happ. Lourdes, I love tonight at $4,200, hitting third against Parker. Big fan of that price tag for him. Where are you looking?
Yeah, largely the plays you just mentioned. Rosarena hitting second, 4,800. Lourdes Gurriel, 42. I really like the 3K tier of bats. Manny Margot, 35, leading off. Jaquan Bay hitting seventh, 35. We mentioned Jeff McNeil at second. He's hitting seventh. Mike Tauchman, 3,400, hitting fifth if you're going to play that game. Palacios is leading off against Jake Bloss. I mean, he's going to be the one to get all the pitches instead of Reynolds and O'Neal Cruz and Rowdy Tellez. So I like the top four Pittsburgh stack quite a bit. Victor Robles is a core play for me, $3,100. He's hitting everybody, righties, lefties. He's leading off again. He's stealing bases. We haven't even had like elite Victor Robles stolen bases last few games, but we know what he was doing 2 weeks ago. So 3,100 for Robles is a great play. I love MJ Melendez tonight, $3,000. Before the injury, he was great. A lot of power against right-handed pitching. Had homered in like 3 of his last 6 games. We talked about the home runs per 9 innings for Chris Flexen against left-handed bats. So Melendez stands out quite a bit. And yeah, I mean, I a lot of interest down here in this like low 3K tier, which I think provides us the ability to get Ketel Marte plus whoever else. Harold Ramirez at $3,000. Like Randall Grishik, 3,200. The list
Sure.
goes on with cheap value.
Well, we've come to the end here. Our guy Don wants to know where we're spending up today. We like spending up at second base, shortstop, and pitching. It's kind of where we were largely going. What's your first plug? Oh, we were doing a home run call. All right, what's your home run call? Cal Raleigh is your home run call. I'm going to go Lourdes Gurriel for me. Home run call against lefty on Parker. That's where I'm going. What's your what's our moves here? Where are we starting things? Skeens. Okay.
Yep.
Next. Robles. 31. Okay.
Raleigh.
Dude is just gonna live or die by Seattle tonight. All right.
Lourdes.
Lourdes.
Gotta play your guy.
Yeah.
Kettle Cook Chip.
Let's get Yepez in there.
Do you like Yepez more than you like Rowdy?
I do.
I split that. I think Rowdy. I like Rowdy better, but it's close. I didn't. Only reason I don't have Rowdy in my playbook, I have Yepez in the playbook. You can find it at FantasyAlarm.com. I just wasn't sure what Pittsburgh was going to do with their lineup. I mean, Reynolds and Rowdy were both
sure,
like super questionable.
We do Ray. We got 3350.
Melendez, I think we should be able to get Suarez.
Melendez and Suarez. Look at that. Works for me. I got no problems with it. Skeens, Raleigh, Yepez, Marte, Suarez, Cruz, Robles, Gurriel, and Melendez. A little Arizona stack here. A couple of one-off plays around the board. Some Seattle as well. Skeens up at the top. Ray down there at the bottom. Some options for all of us. Again, Grande's got his playbook out for everybody. If you have any questions, you can find us there. Get us in the Discord. Find us on Twitter. If you're not yet a member of the Fantasy Alarm family, we keep saying it, but the time is certainly going to be running out soon here. First month for less than $20. Go to fantasyalarm.com/win. Use promo code Let's Go. Get access to all of our premium content, including our fantasy football draft guide and cheat sheet. That is part of your all-pro package. If you buy the draft guide by itself, it's $28. If you buy the cheat sheet by itself, it's $24. Or you can get both and access to everything else for like $19.98. So go to fantasyalarm.com/win. Use promo code Let's Go. Sign up, scan that QR code, and become a member of the Fantasy Alarm family today. We'll be back tomorrow. Myself and Henry will be on the show. Henry will be on that playbook as well. Good luck with your lineup builds tonight, everybody, and we'll catch you later.